Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Here we go. Another day, another dollar, boys and girls. Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to, of course, another episode of High Top Sports. We talked yesterday about this young man visiting the Florida Gators, obviously setting up, an interview with the Gators. Him being VInni Sunseri, I believe is how it's pronounced. The thought process was it was coming in as a safeties coach, and now the title has been revealed: safety / co-defensive coordinator. Feelings are everywhere right now. I got a poll running right now to kind of get to see the temperature of Gator Nation. As usual, shambles. Timelines and shambles on Twitter, where everyone's frustrated, it's angry. Why? Why is this happening? Because it's not sexy. It's not the big splash. It's not the cannonball into the deep end of a hire that gets you all riled up in the afternoon. And to be quite honest with you, when we talked about it yesterday, nobody was throwing any fits. The reason why no one was throwing any fits was because we thought he was coming in as a safeties coach, and that's still the case. And I'll elaborate. So let's sink into the deep end here, okay? That was the initial thought. You slap on the co-defensive coordinator, shit goes haywire. That's what's really stirred this thing up, because it's a head scratcher. And I understand why. I get the feeling and the frustration of, like, why the title? Now, you're going to have people running to the keyboard. I feel it. He's not going to call plays. We're going to get into that. And I understand all that. But you still ask the question, why the title? We had the random titles last year. And to be perfectly honest with you, with myself working in a corporate world, you kind of start to realize as you get older, titles are kind of a joke, right? What titles really do, couple of things. They help with resume builders, okay? When you can look back and think about anybody you can go look at, and you take a look at their Wikipedia page and they go, oh, they were a co-DC somewhere, or they were this, or oh, they were that. We don't know exactly what they did, but 3 years ago, for 3 years from now, you look back and say, okay, they had that title. They must have been important at that place. That's where that comes into play. What does it mean that they did that job? What entail? I don't know. And that's my point, is, like, may say co-defensive coordinator, and so the panic sets in of, like, oh, this is our new DC. We went from Muschamp to this. I don't believe that is the case, and I'll get into that as well. So the reason for, again, the frustration, I understand it, is because there's no sexiness to it. And how it feels to me personally, and we'll elaborate this more, kind of very similar to Austin Armstrong. We hired him. Now, the difference is there's a couple of different things. One, we hired Austin as the DC. He was straight up, outright the defensive coordinator, not co-DC, not this. He also, I think, was the safeties coach, which is why I'm also excited. And I'll elaborate on the safeties part of it here in just a minute. But was hired as a DC. That was the big difference, in my opinion, with this. But the similarities are worked their way up, had some exciting things. You could argue that what Austin Armstrong did as DC at Southern Miss, getting the nickname Nasty Bunch, did a lot of great things as an actual DC. So almost had a little bit more credibility. Smaller school, he's coming from Washington, coach for New England's been part of, I would say, some, great caliber teams. Played at Alabama in 2010 to 2012, won two championships as safety. I saw a clip on the internet. Guy was just knocking heads off. Okay. So that's where my similarity comes in. And I forgot to mention this yesterday. That concerns me. And again, not concerns, but an issue is that he's worked with Billy before. And I've said this before. I go, look, I think to run a great organization, you got to have guys that are willing to push back. You can't hire your friends. And I'm not saying these guys are best buds. I don't know. He's 33, another young guy, right? Love the youth, love the energy. And I'll talk about all the things that I like here in just a minute. But I'm being honest. Here are my reservations with this hire. Again, the co-DC thing, I'm not looking too much into it. How I view it is that he is going to be the safeties coach alongside Will Harris. He'll be coaching the DBs. So now you have two guys that are in charge of that. The reason why I like that is because I don't believe we've had a true safeties coach at all since Billy's been here. I could be wrong on that, but Corey Raymond was the secondary / DB coach. And then when Austin came in, I think there was he was supposed to take over the secondary. That was kind of reported, but I know that Austin took the safeties as well. And I think he may have had the safeties a little bit this year, possibly a little bit linebackers too. We've heard that. So again, this also when we talk about these titles, we ain't got a clue what half these cats do. And so for me, if Ron Roberts stays and he is there, you're adding a piece that hasn't really existed. I think if you had, I think one more defensive hire would honestly be good too. Whether it's a linebacker coach or whether it's a an actual DC, because again, you've got Ron Roberts that's in charge of the linebackers too. A lot of guys are wearing a lot of different hats. That I'm not a huge fan of. So coming in as a safety to work alongside Will Harris, I love that. I know some people are looking at this going, Will Harris is going to be pissed because he did a great job last year. Now this guy's coming in and he's going to be, he's getting that new title. Why is that? That stuff I don't have the answers to. That I don't. Those are the logistics that I can't necessarily rock and roll with. Somebody said Jacksonville State defense played hard. He did. Okay, he's joking. He didn't coach Jacksonville State. He was hired by Jacksonville State this year, like literally 10 days ago, to be the DC for Jacksonville State. That's also very similar to kind of what happened with Arson Armstrong. Alabama was trying to lure him over to be their linebacker coach. Alabama was, but then when we hired him and moved him up, and again, we were excited, a lot of youth, a lot of positive things that we circled, but there were my reservations then, and I have them even more now because of the situation we had with Austin Armstrong. Again, for me, if Ron stays, who called the play last year and continues to call plays, this is a fantastic hire, right? Like I said, if it would have just been safeties coach, we wouldn't be having this madness personally. Great point from Danny Foster. Says he'll replace Austin as the hype guy on the sideline and better an in-house recruiter than Roberts to relate to players. Another thing that I like about him, the guy played just 10 years ago. Is not too far removed from the game, right? That's a big thing to me. There's a lot of good things here. Again, outside of the fact that it's not splashy, there isn't these things to look at. Played the game, played at an elite level, played for an elite coach, coach with an elite coach in Bill Belichick. Went to Washington last year, and we'll take a look. Shout out to Nico is his data on that. So Coach VInni at Huskers last year ranked 5th nationally in passing yards, allowed per game at 168.8, and we're 8th in pass efficiency defense at 110.51. And our guy Dylan also tweeted out he had 3 guys. One guy had a 36, ranked 36 according to PFF, one of the safeties that played for Washington. So we've talked a lot about safety play, whether we should go get another safety in the portal or whatnot. So you've got some young guys back there. Jordan Castell, hopefully he takes a step up. And look, I think we could all argue the safeties as a whole took a weird step back last year. And cornerbacks elevated. And everyone's like, hey, Will Harris had the safeties. I think Will Harris focused on the cornerbacks. From what I recall, again, years go by, but Austin at one point had the safeties under him. Now, did that get confused and mixed up and he was trying to do too much? Possibly. So the fact that he's coming in, that is his, I would say, his priority role. I know co-defensive is in front of safeties. I assume that's probably due to alphabetical reasons, not because of what weighs more, but simply due to the fact that it's just alphabetically. I like that a lot. He also, Dabber Dan says, look, Will Harris coached at Washington. I don't think they coached together, obviously, because that was his first year last year, I think. And Will was at the Chargers before he came here. So not quite the same connection, but at least played in, coached in a Power 5 conference. So very young, not much there, but could be one of those shining stars, those up and comers. Again, think about this, as little resume as he had, and I know Jacksonville State isn't anybody able to write home to, was going to hire him as a DC. They felt confident enough to hire him as a DC. So there must be a lot there that is intriguing people that we cannot see. I'm not like try to wrap that shit up, but no, simply looking at it from my perspective. He's keeping the DC title because he's earned it for his future. Need more young assistant coaches to keep up with recruiting and constant work. Look, I think that's a big thing too, man. I think that's where this could be a ploy or a move to sustain Ron Roberts, right? Where you need a guy that's going to go out there and recruit, and maybe that's where this is going. Actually, now, great point. I think that's probably what it is, because Ron, there was a lot of rumors and talks that Ron wanted to retire, and They're like, look, you did a great job calling the plays, but Ron's like, I don't want to do the recruiting. I don't want to do all the nonsense that comes along with being the DC. Okay. And that's probably exactly what it is that Coach VInni eventually, that's kind of where, hey, can we groom him? And again, I know you hate that. Why you're okay to groom guys. Like you want to still, grow people as long as they don't take over a massive role, right? So Ron runs the defense still, but VInni will kind of handle the recruiting aspect of it. So he can carry that title to say, yeah, I'm part of the co-defensive coordinator. What's going on? So again, there are those logistics of you are being groomed, and he can be that next guy. That is a good point of looking at it, and maybe that is a way to save Ron Roberts, which I'm okay with. I kind of been preaching. I don't want to have. I know we wanted to go out and get these certain guys in DCs and things like that, but I've kind of been preaching like I don't want a massive reset again. I mean, we keep playing this game of flipping through DCs and whatnot. If Ron can basically say, "Hey, you go out there and you go get me a young guy, has the energy, will do all the nonsense that I don't like to do, but I'll continue to do what I do." You got to get a guy that's going to fill that role, and that's probably what VInni is coming in to do. If that's the case, I'm cool with it, right? Recruiting, all these things. I mean, I don't know how to look at it from that perspective, but anybody, I mean, you can judge anybody. I think Will Harris, I know Will Harris when he first got in here and he swung and miss on the young kid that went to Texas. I can't think Xavier Filsamy, right? Because that whole switch happened at the end there, and Will came in kind of late, and it's like this guy doesn't know. There was a lot of hate for Chapman and Will when they first got here, and what they can and cannot do. And obviously, we were ecstatic to have them on our side. So I'm not going to get too judgmental on that. I'm trusting the evaluation here. I think again he brings some excitement to the table. I think he has a lot, even though in the short time that he's been a coach, I think he played for a little bit, but coaching since 2014 from what I saw. So just under 10. Let me just check before I just start making stuff up. How long? But he did play. He did play pro ball as well, which is good. So he played for the Saints for a year, then New England for a year, then San Francisco for a year, and then that was all she wrote. And then went to Alabama in 2019. So he's been a coach for just over a couple years now. Then went to New England. Then he was at New England for 4 years. Then of course Washington, and got hired now. So moving quickly, right? But ton of playing experience, which I love. That has that NFL experience in all assets of the game, whether played and coached in it, and coached for some great coaches, or coach alongside great coaches as well, and played for great coaches as well too. So all those things are good. Play at a high level is very important. So yeah, all those assets I like a lot about them. And again, it's not the big splash hire. And I know where Gator fans are going to go. We're the Gators. We don't need to be doing Make a Wish Foundation and trying to help these guys up and come. So, and I get that. I the title thing I can see again. If he just had safeties, we wouldn't be as irate right now. Let's take a look and see how you guys are feeling in the chat. Let's see the poll results here. I said like, hate, or love the hire. 38% like it. 41%, or excuse me. Why can't I see it? Here we go. 39% like it. 17% love it. Only 4% hate. And then 41% say, I don't know how to feel. I think that's a healthy feeling, right? Like, how are we supposed to feel about this? And again, I think it's just because of the co-defensive coordinator title. It's kind of a head scratcher of like, what is this? The one thing I will not stand by, Mr. Nobody and I were arguing, which is always fun. I always love the different perspective. I love seeing that other side of it. I think sometimes, and I was trying to explain this, but I have a hard time kind of like, elaborating with my words when I'm typing, that we all have a side in this. I get labeled as that Disney Gator, the optimistic guy. And then there's other side of it that are just kind of always looking for it to rain. You're always just, you're always looking at that glass half full, right? I mean, to go back to that it's an old saying, but it's true. Like you're looking for it to be bad. And that's where I get frustrated. I'm cool with criticizing it. I'm cool with having your reserves, but it's hard for me to have a conversation with somebody who's and saying to them, well, you always look at it half full. I get it. I'm probably frustrating to listen to and talk to, because I try to see the positive in it. The reason why I try to do that is because, again, this guy is our coach. We've got to support him and work with him. Great question. Somebody asked, hey, would you hire them if you were in charge here? And I thought about that. If I, as a manager myself, would I hire somebody like this? And to be fair, again, I don't know how much responsibility he has. I can't give you a true, definite answer. But I'm myself being young, myself who has someone has taken a chance on me to be where I am. Have I had my bumps and my bruises? Yes. But that the person who obviously took a chance on me saw that, okay, this kid's young. He has a lot of potential here. Let's work him through the right process so he can be successful. And I think this might be the step. I think that the Armstrong move was a bad move. I think the idea was right. I think if they could have brought him as in a linebacker coach like Alabama was going to do, maybe with the co-defensive coordinator, but we needed a DC at the time, right? As a co-defensive coordinator, kind of like that, the segue, and it allowed for him to mature into that position. I think he would have had success. And so maybe that's what Billy learned from as well, too. And some of you are going to hate hearing that. We shouldn't be learning on the job. I mean, that's just the way it is, boys. I don't know what to tell you. That's just how it works. Young coaches already taking over the game. Look at the NFL. So many young coaches becoming head coaches and coordinators. It's just the game's moving faster and quicker, and it's evolving in so many ways. And look, I like it. I think if you can have a nice, healthy combination of the two, that's where you want to be. You have done a great background on him. Dude is smart and knows football. Yeah, and I think that's where, for me, there's a lot of positive things about it from again, the small things. I can't say I know this guy for like the back of my hand. And again, you go look at other people, there's more things to look at, but the things that we talked about are what excites me. I want to play this clip here as well, boys. Let's hop into the next little tab here. Shout out to JD Smooth 189 on Twitter. He interviewed Lagonza Hayward. And I didn't realize it was Lagonza during the interview. I was like, who is that? I don't recognize him. So awesome to get this interview. But it's a great little clip. I don't know where the full interview is, or I plugged the full interview. But go check out JD at Smooth 189 on Twitter. I never spoke to this guy, but I've seen his stuff before. I didn't know he's a big Gator fan, obviously, getting this interview here. But here's what Lagonza had to say. It's very interesting, and it doesn't surprise me. And in a weird way, it's something that I've preached for quite some time on how I believe Napier and co operate. Just from, and again, I think you guys think that I like, I talk to people that are close to the program, but I try to keep a wall so I can be as natural and raw reacting as possible as a true fan, like all of us are here. That liaison between that. And so interviewing players myself, seeing coaches' interviews, talking about it, watching this thing unfold, you kind of get an idea of the culture and what they're trying to build. Let me shut up for 5 minutes and see what he has to, what he says here. Let me get this pulled up, and then I'm going to click play.
Coach Napier, they constantly was in it when you was committed to Tennessee. Talk about a relationship with them, man. What you enjoy most about them?
I like that they real. They wired right. Like how Coach Willie said. Like they don't recruit people just off of like the stars and stuff. Like they turn on a 5-star when you try to commit just cause he wasn't wired right. Like he only want good people in the facility, and everybody inside the facility treats you like family, down to the people that's cooking, up all the way to the head coaches. Like everybody humbleized, and like they don't treat you a certain way based on your job, if you get what I'm saying.
For those that don't know about Coach Napier, obviously I hear great things. What do you enjoy most just about him in general as a head coach?
Really, the fact of like he holds you accountable regardless. Like he remind me of my high school coach, because like he not as loud as my high school coach, but like he makes sure you handling you being a man of your word on the field and off the field, and he holding you to a standard, and like he just wants you to be a great man overall. I don't want to play with somebody who just want me to be a great football player. I want somebody that's gonna make me a better man, because like you gotta think about it. I'm away from my mama with this man like every day, 24/7. So like I need somebody who I know going to help me develop into the person overall I want to be at the end.
I mean, how can you not love hearing that? Now, it's going to translate to wins. That's going to be the big question, right? But they're wired right. The best part of that clip was he turned down a 5-star because he wasn't wired right. There's been times where, you see this happen where you can kind of, there's a player, and I'm not going to mention names. I'm not here to thrash anybody, but I recall interviewing them from the last cycle. They ended up not committing here. And I remember interviewing them. They just didn't like have that same kind of mindset. It was a very me first mindset versus someone like this. You can just tell the humbleness, the understanding that it's bigger than just the game of football. And, you know, they're buying into that. You're getting all those guys that feel and want that. And that's why we saw what we saw last year. I think that's why you saw the team not quit, because there is a true culture being built and a true foundation being built. And although we see all these things on the outside and we're screaming and we're yelling and we're like, they need to do this and they need to do that. The other thing that I always resort back to is that these kids, these young men who are putting their entire life into this man's hand, this man being Billy Napier, are trusting the decision that he is making. We are just simply a fan that are supporting, and we have our own ways of supporting, but it's just our happiness or sadness. These kids are investing their futures into this. And so, in a way, when we're insulting these decisions that are being made, to an extent, we're insulting these kids of making bad decisions. Now, I know that all these decisions are told or, maybe elaborated to them, but these guys committed with what was at hand. They committed to what they saw last year going into the end of the year. They liked it. They loved it. What they were told, I'm imagining through the recruiting process, they saw it translate and they go, okay, they weren't pulling our leg. They are turning things around. They are building this. They are doing that. I think the biggest thing, I know some of y'all are going to be like, this is dumb that we turned on a 5-star just because he wasn't wired right, but it just speaks to it. Again, I think that goes to the money thing, right? Why isn't Florida spending money? Look, we're okay with spending the money, I think, if it's right. BJ Lagway's right. Dallas Wilson seemed right for them. Those guys are big ticket items. LJ McCray, he was right. Now, other times they probably swing and miss too, for sure. For sure. I think that's part of it too. But I mean, they definitely didn't seem like it. And with this, it feels like, look, they're not chasing stars. They're not too concerned with that. And some of you may hate it, not like that, but I like it. I like hearing about it. Let me hop over to the chat here and see what's rock and rolling here. How you guys are feeling about everything. I love it. Two completely different attitudes and demeanor. Ask Saban about the Sunseri hire. A great hire. Yeah, I mean, there's a clip, man. That guy plays with his head cut off. There's a couple clips from Alabama I saw. Loved it. Even though it would have been nice, I couldn't see Napier and Muschamp having a good relationship. Interesting there. I mean, I think both guys have matured, for sure. But it's interesting to see. See, this is where Teresa says we could have gotten anyone in the world for DC, and we go get this. That's where I think. Just from Mr. Nobody and a couple in the chat. I don't think that, to me, that's not how I view it. And this is where it's that the half full, half empty kind of perspective comes into play. It's like, I don't think that, I think the Muschamp would have replaced maybe a Ron Roberts, and then you maybe go get somebody else. What I think is that Ron Roberts is staying. And so, okay, we've kept this, but we still have some holes we need to fill. So let's go fill that. The Muschamp was going to replace, I would say, Ron Roberts, which then in line would have replaced a safeties coach, which we need anyways. So this to me isn't the same thing. I think it's an alternative move because that plan didn't work. But again, that plan was for Ron Roberts. I think Ron Roberts wants to kind of take a step back, and even in a way, Muschamp, from what we've seen how he's managed his time at Georgia, is looking to have a certain way about how he's going about it because he wants to still be involved with his son. So we'll see. Play what Lagonda said about Tennessee. I didn't see that. This is the only clip that I saw. Is it on let me see if I can find it. I'll play it. Is it on his, again, I just saw this on Twitter. It was a clip that I saw on Twitter. So I don't know where that is. But great interview. I don't know where it is. I mean, I would plug his YouTube channel if it's live somewhere. Go watch it. It's always great to hear from these kids. Derek McKinney says him resigning Jaluk was the best thing Napier did during the offseason. And quarterback Harrison Bailey was a decent acquired to back up Lagway. Yeah, those are very, very solid. The whole interview is on YouTube. You can plug the link, man, if you've got it. I don't know. Again, I don't know where it's at. Oh, the interview's on 3? On 3? Okay. Let's see here. My concern is the offense. Good stuff. Well, boys and girls, also another big kind of information that's broke is Micah. There was it dropped that he was coming back for today's game. Center for the Gators for today's game at 4 o'clock against Georgia. That has now been announced he is not coming back. Obviously, he suffered a gruesome injury last year to his ankle. And so there was concern that he probably would medically redshirt this year. But now it sounds like with the noise that was kind of stemming up, maybe there could be some good things happening. Maybe he does find his way back, which would be awesome if he's able to do that. But it's not going to happen today. We retweeted it. I thought it was happening. But we'll see. Gator Great says Sunseri was productive for Saban and Belichick, however you spell it. Yeah. Again, 2 iconic coaches. It comes from a great tree of great coaches. So those things are locking it. Purposely ignoring my comment. What comment? What are you talking about, Bichet? What comment? It's on Swap 24/7. Is that your comment? Sorry, dude. I didn't see it. Also, if I was Napier, I would hire all the help I think we may need. Yeah, I think that's a big thing too on defense where, I mean, there's just always been holes on the defensive side. And I mean, the more coaches you got on that side, I mean, that you can facilitate to somebody else, always the better. So, look, that's where we're at. Steesberger Jr. is the kind of the next one on weight. That broke kind of sort of with Buddy Martin, waiting for the official kind of signing. Not saying Buddy's not official, but you know what I'm talking about, like it's confirmed, paper's been signed to come in as an offensive analyst. I think that's going to be a big move. It's just another set of eyes on the offensive side of things. So we'll see. We'll see. Sean said this hire, Jan. Let's discuss what's really important. What's the latest on Dallas Wilson? I hate that this is becoming a thing. I was in the forums last night on 3, and somebody asked about it, and Keith Napier responded. He's like, "When I know more, I'll let y'all know." And I'm like, "What? Why are we doing this?" And not mad at anybody, but it's like, why is this a thing? Why is there drama surrounding this man being enrolled? Why are we doing this? Just get him on campus, damn it! Don't do this to me. I mean, the whole thing would have come to a burn to a pulp if we did. But anyways, y'all be good. Smash the like button, subscribe. We obviously lost one because I didn't read the comments fast enough. So, is Bree Wade still at Florida? I believe she signed with Florida Victorious last I saw. So technically yes, but technically no. So yes, but no. But yes, kind of no. Y'all be good. We'll see you after the game. 4 o'clock, kickoff, tip-off, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. We'll talk about the basketball game. Gotta get a W. Gotta take down Georgia. Keep the boys rolling. Y'all be good.